UFC 321 looks absolutely atrocious. What's up, boys? We are back, and today we're going to be talking about this abysmal card that was just announced at the UFC Abu Dhabi we had a couple days ago. And a lot of people are complaining about it. A lot of people are saying this is a horrible card. A lot of people are also saying, well, maybe we'll just give them time, dude. We'll give them a couple months. We'll let them add some fights to this, and this will be an actual good card. The UFC usually likes to stack the Abu Dhabi cards, but maybe this time they're not going all out. But I gotta say, dude, in previous times this year when we've seen a card get announced, it's a very bad card. We've seen it with UFC 312. We've seen it with UFC 318. It's a very bad card, but they announced it a couple months before, dude. I'm sure they'll add some fights to it. I'm sure they'll make the card better. And then as the pay-per-view slowly rolls up, dude, we're starting to see no fights getting added on. Nothing's changing. And then it turns out it's the week of the pay-per-view, and it's just that mediocre card that we had saw from 2 months before. So that's why I am kind of concerned about UFC 321. I mean, if we get this card, well, then I will be very mad. But in today's video, we are going to be fixing this card. We're going to be making it great again because the UFC simply just is not doing that for no apparent reason. But before we get into that, I want to talk about my subscribers. Dude, just subscribe. It would mean a lot if you go ahead and subscribe. We're at like 860 subscribers right now. It takes 1 second, dude. We're a small trying to grow. And just subscribe, man. It would mean a lot. So one more time, we'll go over the card that they announced the other day. Hamdi Abdul Wahab versus Chris Barnett. Azat Maksum versus Mitch Raposo. Ikram Aliskara versus Jun Young Park. Alexander Volkov versus Jalton Almeida, and Tom Asamoah versus Hirogan. So the main event and the co-main event, those are great fights, dude. I don't have a single complaint about those two fights. But then we get to the rest of the card, dude. The final 3 fights, the featured fight and the 2 fights that are open in the card, they are horrendous, dude. I don't care about those fights in the slightest bit. And it's kind of scaring me, dude. And I think Dana White really needs to lock in. I know it is his birthday today, but he needs to lock in on fixing this card. And he also needs to get us a new Fight Night main event for this weekend, boys, because Almir Abazi pulled out. That's not for today's video, though. Hopefully, by tomorrow, we'll have an actual fight announcement. I hope it's not Jusone Park versus Steve Erceg, as that would just make me... I don't even know, man. I don't even want to talk about it. But now, let's get into the fights that I would add to UFC 321. Obviously, I think we got this fight announced the other day, but for some reason it wasn't displayed on the card when they announced it at UFC Abu Dhabi. So either they canceled the fight, they scrapped the fight in the matter of days, or this fight is planning on being the featured fight, which I do not agree with. I do not think this fight should be a featured fight. I think this fight should be the main card, because I guarantee you a lot of people would rather see Amzat Mirzakhanov versus Rakic rather than Azat Maksum versus Mitch Raposo, dude. Who are those guys? A lot of people would rather see this fight a lot more than that. So put this fight on the main card, dude. Open up the main card with it. I don't know. Put it as a second fight of the main card. This is a good fight, dude. Rakic is a very entertaining fighter. I believe his last fight was against Magomed Ankalaev. He gave Magomed Ankalaev some struggles. And the fight before that, he was piecing up Yuri Prochazka before he ultimately got finished at UFC 300. Rakic is good. Amzat Mirzakhanov has, I believe, like 100% finish rate. The kid is an up-and-comer in the division, even though he's like 36th. But still, dude, this is going to be a war. It's going to be a great fight. And I think we should not put this on the featured prelims, because the next fight I do believe we should be on the featured prelims. This is the next fight. This is what I think should be the featured prelim for UFC 321. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Alex Perez. Alex Perez was supposed to fight Steve Erceg, but Alex Perez did have to pull out. So maybe we'll give him some time to recover, dude. We're going to give this guy 2 months to recover in the meantime, dude. And we're going to have him face Tagir Ulanbekov. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, and the UFC keeps giving him unranked bums, and I think, he's not that good. He's not the same guy that we all think of that he is, dude. He's not the Khabib corner guy. Somehow Khabib's in his corner, but he's just not that good, dude. He's constantly fighting unranked fighters, and he's barely getting past those guys. He's going to split decision with some of these guys. He lost to Tim Elliott a couple years back. That's his only loss in the UFC, but now he's on a 4-fight winning streak, dude. We can give him an upgrade in competition. Alex Perez is that upgrade in competition. Alex Perez is a crafty vet, dude. He's been around the game for a while. He obviously needs to step down in competition. I think his last fight was against Tatsuro Taira like almost a year and a half ago. So he needs to be active. He needs another fight. And yeah, I think Alex Perez can definitely win this fight, and maybe Tagir Ulanbekov, if he is on his best performance, well then he might be able to get a win over Alex Perez, and then we have a new fighter in the top 10 of the UFC flyweight division. So that is what I think we should add to the UFC Abu Dhabi featured prelim. You know, Tagir Ulanbekov, he's a Dagestani guy. There's not much. It's an Abu Dhabi card. Dagestani, Abu Dhabi, same thing, dude. So we'll add Tagir Ulanbekov versus Alex Perez. I think it'd be a fun fight to add to this card. And the next fight, what we're gonna do to open up the card, you know, I don't even know who we have. We have Hamdi Abdul Awahab, whatever that guy's name is, that blob who's opening up the card right now. But this fight would be a much better alternative to opening up the card, dude. Sharmagomedov, I'm not saying he didn't take a lot of damage in his last fight against Marc-Andre Barriault. He took a fair bit of damage. Him and Marc-Andre Barriault were going back and forth. I believe he broke his nose. And I think he can still return by October, dude. October is a couple months away, and I think he broke his nose, like I said, so he might have to recover that for a little bit. But before Sharmagomedov's lost to MVP, a lot of people forget this guy was really active. You know, he was fighting on like every other card, pretty much. Not every other card, but every time the UFC went out of the US, went to Abu Dhabi, he was on that card every couple of months. He would be there. After he lost to MVP, he kind of took like a layoff. But he's back now, dude. He fought Marc-Andre Barriault. He got a win, a pretty clear one, a nice win over someone who is a well-respected UFC middleweight. And now we'll give him Gregory Rodriguez, dude. This is the #1 contender spot for a ranking spot, if you guys know what I mean. I've used that term in a couple of my videos before. But this fight makes sense, dude. Gregory Rodriguez, he got a shot against Cannonier, and he fumbled that shot. You know, Cannonier, I think Cannonier was ranked 7th when he beat Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez got a massive step up in competition. I believe his fight before that was against Leroy Duncan. So he went from Leroy Duncan to Jared Cannonier. That's a massive step up. You know, he got a win over Jack Hermanson, the crafty vet. And if he gets a win over Sharmagomedov, we can give this guy another chance in the rankings. If Sharmagomedov wins, obviously he fumbled his chance against MVP. MVP was ranked 15th, but MVP wasn't even ranked, I think. Yeah, Sharmagomedov was the one who was ranked. And sorry, that's a mistake on my end, but still, you guys know what I mean, dude. Sharmagomedov didn't beat anyone to get into the rankings. He just kind of spawned in there one random day. He was in the rankings for a little bit. So was Gregory Rodriguez, I believe. But now both of these guys are coming off a loss and then a win. So it's perfect time for them to fight each other, dude. A very, very fun striking battle. Gregory Rodriguez possesses the power. Sharmagomedov possesses the aesthetic striking, the crazy striking, the powerful striking in some instances. I'm not saying he has the same power as Gregory Rodriguez, but Gregory Rodriguez can end this fight at any time. Sharmagomedov could pull off some weird fluke spinning back kick and somehow win. So I think it's going to be a very fun fight. Add this to the main card. It doesn't even have to be a ranked fight, guys. I'm being generous. I'm not putting freaking Max Holloway on the prelims, bro. I'm trying to make this realistic. I'm trying to put actual realistic fights. The second fight that I believe should open up this card, it's going to be... No, sorry, this is a featured fight. Arnold Allen versus Patricio Pitbull. Okay, guys, it's time to start talking about it. Where the heck has Arnold Allen been? It has been since UFC 304 a year and a half ago, dude. And we've heard nothing, dude. Like, I'm not even seeing rumors of this guy fighting again. Patricio Pitbull, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this matchup. Everyone hates Patricio Pitbull, including me. But the guy's like 38. He picked up a nice win over Dan Ige. Arnold Allen needs to step down in competition just because the rest of the division is booked, dude. You look at the top 5 of the division. Guys like Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez, Movsar Evloev, he's either fought them or they're just a little bit ahead of him in the rankings. You know, I think Arnold Allen's ranked 4th, but his ranking doesn't really, he's not that close to the title, realistically, guys. He got pieced up by Max Holloway, and he's coming off a decently close fight against Giga Chikadze. That Giga Chikadze win hasn't exactly aged well with Giga Chikadze losing to David Onama, but still, dude, Arnold Allen's a top fighter in this division, but he needs to step down in competition, a clear one. Patricio Pitbull, the kid's old. He wants to stay active, dude. He fights every couple of months. Give him this fight at UFC 321. It'd be a very fun fight to add to this card. And Arnold Allen, he just strikes me as an Abu Dhabi guy. I know he's English, but he strikes me as the type of guy who'd love to fight on some Abu Dhabi cards. I don't know how much Abu Dhabi taxes out of the money, but I feel like Arnold Allen loves a good Abu Dhabi fight now and then. And Patricio Pitbull, I don't really think he cares where he fights. He just wants to fight. He just wants to make a name for himself in the UFC, which is very unlikely, but still, dude, I'll give the kid credit. I think Arnold Allen would really be able to pick up a pretty easily win over Patricio Pitbull. I don't rate Patricio Pitbull. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't rate him either. And Arnold Allen can get back on a win, and then we could be talking about Arnold Allen as someone who's actually like potentially fighting for a title very soon. And if Patricio Pitbull somehow gets a win, the kid being the top 5 of the featherweight division, it'd be pretty crazy, and there'd be a lot of potential fun matchups for him in the division. But yeah, man, and now we're gonna go over how I think this card, the bout order should be lined up. I think obviously Tom Aspinall in the main event versus Cyril Gane, Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Volkov as the co-main event, Arnold Allen versus Patricio Pitbull as the featured fight of the night, Alexander Rakic versus Amzat Mirzakhanov in the second fight of the night, and to open up the main card, we have Sharon Magomedov versus Gregory Rodriguez. The featured prelim would be Alex Perez versus Tagir Ulanbekov. And guys, this is a really good card in my opinion. If the UFC puts on a card like this, I think a lot of people are going to be very happy. I think a lot of people are going to be enjoying themselves, because this is right after the Alex Pereira card, dude. And that Alex Pereira card, UFC 320, is stacked, dude. Put up at least a decent card, which this is not even a decent card. This is a good card, and a lot of people are going to be happy. Tom Aspinall's in the main event. A lot of people want to see him chin Cyril Gane. It is a very exciting card, and I think the UFC should definitely consider some of my matches. I know Dana White, I know you're watching this video, so if you're seeing this, just make this card, boys. That's gonna do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, let me know down below, dude. It means a lot. Just go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. MMA Outpost out.